Hi, myself Keshavardhani. Today we are going to see the subject on social science about geography. So I'm going to deliver you the topic of climatic change. As we know, climate change is nothing but where there is a changes in the global area which interacted with the temperature, which interacted with the atmosphere, and that led to the long-term changes which experiences up to 5 years. So climate change, here, what I'm going to deliver you is that how climate change is going to affect the nations which lead to the rise of nation collapse. Okay, which is another topic of geography. It's just like a basic thing, not which does not cover any of the specific standards. It covers every standard consists of CBSE, state board level, IB, IGCSE, ICSE, etc. Okay, now no longer we need not wait. We should just move on. We know why the climate is changed, how the climate is changed due to increase in carbon dioxide. How the carbon dioxide have increased due to vehicular emission, industrial pollutions, etc. Okay, that's not an issue. But if the carbon dioxide have increased, the terrestrial region as well as the slopy regions will get heated, right? So this heat led to the rise of global warming because high temperature leads to global warming. So the sun exposure would be heavier, severe, and there will not be escape of ultraviolet radiation, and there will not be escapism of radiation from the terrestrial region. So it just reback because this the dust particles will get opaque to on it. So the terrestrial heat will not escape from our global, so which led to the formation of global warming. Okay, there is a global warming, I understand. This severe heat led to the melting of glaciers. Am I right? Because due to vapor, the glaciers and its tip of the cap, everything will get melted. So if it is melted, means what will happen after that? The reaction. How the water, it led to the formation of a river. So those rivers will drop into the mouth of the ocean. So can we see that sea level rise? That's absolutely right. Sea level rise. Okay, if the sea level rise means the existing populations in the respective states where they have faced flood because of sea level rise, they usually migrate from their region to the nearby region. And this migration leads to the population pressure for the nearby region where they could not even survive for themselves, but they used to make help the other state as well who are just coming for the asylum. Population pressure. If there is a population pressure, then the demand and supply would be very much insufficient nature to wrap up every population's, and this led to inflation where the purchase of products will be higher in cost, and this inflation leads to poverty where the poor people cannot afford for even a meals a day, and this leads to hunger where I have said the meals, and this hunger leads to civil war. So there will not be humanity, there will be an end in humanity, dignity, fraternity, etc. And they just conscious on their selfishness. And this civil war leads to nation collapse due to the argument between the two state leaders or two countries leaders because of this cause. And this nation collapse will further led into an argument, and this leads to world war and the global crisis get happen so on for the long term. So see, you can ask, it's just carbon dioxide, no, it has just increased. But you see, due to the increase in carbon dioxide, the consistent process taken for a long year, And at last, it have ended with a global crisis where even a common people could not afford for a food. So this how the climate change have affected the nation that to be collapsed. So what can we have if the climate change should not affect the nation collapse, or else the climate should not get changed, or else we should need some proper climate means what can be the steps? I'm sorry, I just have a poor throat. First one, afforestation. First one, afforestation. Then eradication of pollution with the various schemes. Proper management of government schemes. Then carpooling, bus pooling instead of driving one person driving in a car and persons are driving in a bus. So we can have like five per person for one car and 30 members for a bus. And this led to the reduction in CO2 of vehicular emission. That's it. Then we can have that, I'm sorry, green carbon, etc. So these things will lead to the formation of a good climate, and it will not affect the seasonal changes. It will just have a proper seasonal changes with respect to their period time. Now let us go with history. As we know, the British have ruled our nation for about 200 years. But do we know who have laid the foundation, who have traveled to India for the first? Let us see here. For the first time in 1498, the Portuguese traveler, who is none other than Vasco da Gama, have crossed the Cape of Good Hope, which is in a tip of South Africa, and he have traveled to Malabar Coast, which is a Calicut, a present day of Kerala. And he was welcomed by king called a king called Azamore. He have gifted Vasco da Gama spices. But what Vasco da Gama was did was he had traveled back to his country and he sold those spices for 60 times. Sorry, it's not percentage. It's 60 times of his purchase. So he traveled again back to uh, Calicut, and he defeated Zamorin, who is the king of Malabar Coast. He ruled that area and he built a headquarters in Cochin. And he was succeeded by Francis Day. I'm sorry. He was succeeded by Francis Day, who was a viceroy of Portugal, and even he was known for blue water policy. Even he was against of dacoity. He usually strong in merchandise and trading, and he have eradicated the dacoital activities from the other European nations. He have just protected those regions from the other European nations. And he was that fellow, Francis D. After that, he was succeeded by Albert Q, whose administration and consolidation of nation is area was very much good in nature. After that, he was succeeded by Ninoda Kanha, or else we can say that Ninoda Kunha. Everything else are just like it's all about the pronunciation. That's it. He was a person who have successfully shifted the headquarters from Kochi to Goa because they have annexed this partial Western Ghats. That's why. After that, let I go sooner. There is a welcome of Dutch, then English at 600, 1600, then Danish, at last French. So these were the peoples. English is nothing but first English East India Company have came. After 1858 only, there is a direct crown rule with the leader of Queen Victoria. So during classes, I can explain you this elaborately. But you see, these much like five kinds of countries have just came and played a good, like played a major role in our nation and exploited, confiscated many things, and they just went on. So who have left first from India means nothing but first have left by Dutch. Who have came later and escaped earlier. Then Danish, then English, who have been ruled for 200 years, colonialism, come imperialism. Then they have just went on after giving independence. After that, French. Partial French were here now. French at last. Portuguese. So have early come, late gone. 1961. So they were the people who have came first and left out last. That's it. It's all about like later things we have just like regional kingdoms and how the British have get expanded and how the formation of Charter Act, etc., Regulating Act, and this Great Revolt tries to the formation of Government Act of India 1858 and how the Crown Rule have played a vital role in the significance and how the Gandhi played a vital role and Gandhian phase leads to the formation of moderates extremism and non-cooperation, civil disobedience movement, Pune Pact, Kidwin Pact, August Affair, Quit India movement, Crips Mission, I'm sorry, on pattern plan, everything else we are just going to see in the upcoming days. Now I'm just going to give you a short thing about economy. What is I'm sorry. What is economy? Economy, we have two kinds of economy. But what is economy? Economy is nothing but demand and supply based on needs and wants. Demand and supply based on needs and wants. So the product is produced first, okay, then purchased, after that consumed. That's it.